Welcome to Music with Mrs. Avery.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the North Carolina Symphony virtual experience. In our last lesson, we began to look at the percussion section. And the instruments that are in the percussion family are all in this family because of the way that they produce sound. And the way that they produce sound is by striking, hitting, or shaking them. Last time we looked at the main percussion instruments like the snare drum and the bass drum. And today we are going to look at a different type of percussion instrument called the auxiliary percussion instruments. Before we get started, I would like for you to pause this video and go and get your orchestra tree map that you wrote out in our last lesson. You are going to need it today to add in your auxiliary percussion instruments as we learn about them in this instructional video. Now that you have your orchestra tree map in front of you, let's look at the auxiliary percussion column. So our auxiliary percussion instruments are percussion instruments that ornament or decorate the song. These instruments are not typically used throughout the entire song, but they are used in spots where they enhance the song and decorate it. So we are going to look at a few auxiliary percussion instruments together, and I'd like you to add them to your tree map as we learn about them. So the first auxiliary percussion instrument is the tambourine. And here is the word tambourine so that you can spell it correctly. So go ahead and add tambourine to the auxiliary percussion column of your tree map. And let's look at the tambourine as you are writing it down. So the tambourine is a very shallow, round instrument. Its body is made of wood. It has a head on top. And around the body are these little metal discs called jingles. So most of the time the player holds that tambourine in their hand. And with a flat hand, they tap the head of the tambourine, or they may shake the tambourine. And so when you strike the head of the tambourine, you get one timbre of sound. And when you shake the tambourine, it creates a different timbre of sound. Sometimes the tambourine is even played with the player's knuckles. And Mozart first introduced the tambourine to the orchestra. So let's listen to the tambourine. We're going to listen to it by itself, and then we're going to listen to it played with an orchestra so we can hear how the tambourine decorates the music. When you hear it, raise your hand. Could you hear how the tambourine decorated the music? Moving on. Next is the triangle. Here is the word triangle so that you can spell it correctly in your tree map. So go ahead and add it to that auxiliary percussion column. And the triangle is made out of a small metal steel tube. And you'll notice that one of the corners of that triangle is missing. That is so the sound can vibrate through that steel tube and travel out into the air to our ears. And it is played using this little steel rod. Let's listen to the triangle. So when you hear the triangle in the orchestral piece of music, raise your hand. So you hear it's not playing the entire time through. It's there to decorate the music. Now, the gong. Now, the gong is from China. And gongs were created to actually send announcements or send signals. And it wasn't until later that they were added to ornament music. So a gong is pretty neat. It's a large metal disc, and they do come in different sizes. And you play it with a mallet, and typically the head of that mallet is very, very soft. And what the player does is they have to take that mallet and gently tap the outside of that gong, and that warms it up. And that is so when they take that mallet and they strike the gong, the vibrations travel evenly through the metal. So let's listen to the gong. And you could tell those vibrations keep moving and moving and moving through that metal. That's why that sound is sustaining for so long. Now, these are called the chimes. So go ahead and add chimes to your tree map. So the chimes are typically 12 to 18 metal tubes. There are some that are very short and some that are very long. And we know that the longer the instrument, the lower the sound. The shorter the instrument, the higher the sound. So we can assume that the chimes are a pitched instrument. They are going to play different notes that could play a melody. So when the chimes are struck with a mallet, they sound like church bells. So let's listen to the sound of the chimes. reminds me of a doorbell. Does anybody's doorbell make that sound when someone rings it? And the last auxiliary percussion instrument that I'm going to teach you about, though there are many, many, many more, are the castanets. And these are a Spanish instrument. And often these are played by Spanish dancers. These are little finger cymbals that are made of wood. And they create this clicking sound. They accent the music a lot, especially in Spanish dances. So let's listen to the castanets, and please do not forget to add it to your tree map. I hope that you enjoyed learning about the auxiliary percussion instruments. I hope that you have enjoyed learning about all of the instruments of the orchestra. Remember, the instruments are classified by the way they produce sound. For your assignment in Google Classroom, you are going to answer the following question. What is your favorite instrument of the orchestra? I can't wait to see your response. Thanks for joining me.